Hello, everybody. Welcome to our monthly February live stream. How's everybody doing today? I'm going to wait a little bit. We've already got 13 people in the room, or 14 actually now. Why don't you all give us a shout out where you're coming from in the chat section so that I can to see how everybody's doing here today. Lisa, how are you doing? And Cindy K came in a little bit earlier. How's everybody doing today? I'm not seeing my chat working today, the chat window here, but hopefully it'll start picking up the chats. Hello, Miss De La Fuente. How are you doing today? I don't know why my chat's not picking up today. Well, we're going to have to do without Cindy K from Michigan, coming from Michigan. My little chat window isn't working today. Edgar Aguin. Actually, Edgar, I moved from McAllen, Texas to Mexico. So I'm not too far away from you. I used to live not too far away from you. And Rick D from Tennessee and Melanie J from Ecuador. The chat should be coming up on the window today, but we're not going to see it today, I guess. So I'm just going to pull your comments like I normally do. I don't know why the widget's not working today. It usually does work. Oh, there it goes. I guess it just takes some time to catch up. And Katrina the Maker from Houston, Texas. Actually, South Texas. Well, Houston's considered South Texas. I came from further south. And Barbara Poole from San Miguel de Allende. Welcome, Barbara. Actually, I'm actually in Monterrey now, but I have a house in San Miguel de Allende, and I'm actually moving from San Miguel to Monterrey. I'm in the process right now, but we still have our house in San Miguel de Allende. A little bit of housekeeping I have a little bit of an announcement to make. We have Chris Langley in Brownsville right now. Hey, welcome, Chris. Actually, I lived right down the road from Brownsville. I got a little bit of an announcement to make. Let's do some housekeeping before I get into today's topic. Today's topic is going to be a little bit about safety. I do a lot of videos on safety, and I've done a couple of videos lately, or one video lately, about the safety of the Laredo Texas crossing, and we're going to go a little bit over that, and we're going to go over a little bit of safety tips, and I figured I would do it live. But first, I have a big announcement to make for my viewers, is that I have one announcement, and that announcement is that I will be offering free consultations. And I will be placing four people a month. I will be giving a free 1 hour consultation. That's right, free. I'm not charging. I'm not charging $120 or $130. I'm not charging $50 an hour. I'm not charging $20. I am going to give this consultations for free. If you're thinking about moving to Mexico, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a wait list, and what I'll do is I'm going to take the people in order on the wait list, and I'm going to schedule a 1 hour Zoom call with you, and you can ask whatever personal questions you'd like to ask about moving to Mexico. And let's see how that goes. What I'm going to do is I am going to be doing a video real soon on how to be put on the wait list. If you have any special needs that you're going to need to be bumped up on the wait list, I'll take that into consideration. But for now, it's going to be a first come, first serve basis. And I will be scheduling those probably once a week and fit them into my schedule. Everybody needs to understand that I do have, YouTube is not a job for me. YouTube is a public service that I do on my spare time. But I decided to give my spare time One of the goals here at Retired Life in Mexico, like I've told everybody, one of my goals here is to make sure and to ensure that you get information that's not influenced by any outside sources. I don't make any money off of this. I don't make any profit. Now, my YouTube channel is monetized. I make enough money to buy my coffee to keep me up at night editing my videos, but that's about it. And some people do donate to the channel here and there, but basically the cost comes out of my pocket. And I do this because I want it to be a public service to you guys, and I decided to extend this to doing free consultations, because I know a lot of YouTube channels offer paid consultations, and I'm doing it for free. But like I said, I'm limited in the amount of people that I can take, and I will be doing it on a first come, first serve basis. So, hit that subscribe button, and as soon as you see that video, I'm going to give you instruction on how to sign up, and we're going to go from there. And Gringos R Us in the house. Are you? You're in Querétaro right now, because you've been going all over the place. I've been seeing you guys, your videos you've been visiting a lot of places. And actually, I know that Gringos R Us did their last video from a cigar factory. That was pretty interesting. All right, so now I think we got enough people in the room to start off on our subject today. And today's subject is going to be, I put in my live stream, you're in San Miguel de Allende, in my home turf. You're actually in my home turf. Actually, you know what, Gringos R Us? I actually remember you mentioning that you guys were actually in San Miguel de Allende. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start on the safety thing. I entitled my live stream, "Is Mexico Dangerous?" And one of the reasons why I did that is because every time I do a video, and I always put this, "Is Mexico dangerous?" or "danger," everybody starts this. I don't think a lot of people even watch the video. They start arguing about the dangers of Mexico, either on one end, that is very dangerous and there's cartels and everything else, or on the other end, that is completely safe, that where I live, I'm more in I have more of a chance of being stuck in a drive-by shooting or a mass shooting. But we're going to go ahead and dispel a lot of myths that people have about the dangers of Mexico. And actually, Jalisco, Guanajuato Travels and Adventures is here. All right. Welcome to the channel. Now, my point in all of this stuff of Mexico being dangerous, or is it dangerous, is it not dangerous, is that Mexico is just as dangerous as any other place in the world. One of the things that I always preach is that there's danger everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go. If you're in the United States, if you're in Canada, if you're in Mexico, danger is going to be anywhere you go. When people ask me about the safety in Mexico, or even I've gotten some recent questions on my Facebook groups about the safety in San Miguel de Allende. Really, safety in Mexico has a lot to do with not being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I always preach that. It's not that Mexico's dangerous. Is there cartels? Yes, there's cartels. People will say, well, as long as you're not into cartels, it's safe. Well, not necessarily, because like I said, you can end up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Actually, I have a friend from San Miguel that ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they took him behind a gas station and held him at gunpoint for a little while. But a lot of what happened to him has to do with certain things that he was traveling with another individual in another vehicle. And a lot of what happened to him had to do with mistakes that they made. It wasn't actually because they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, number one. And number two, they made a couple of mistakes. So one of the things that I stress in safety here in Mexico is, as long as, when you cross the border, I'm going to tell you probably no border crossing is safe, is 100% safe. And no border crossing, I mean, is 100% safe. There is no such thing. You know, I have a background in, actually, I have a background in executive protection. I received the same training as the Secret Service does, but I was with the United States Marshal Service. And one of the things that we used to do when we used to do security plans is that we always had in mind is that there was no such thing as 100% safety or 100% that we're going to be able to protect this individual. There's always something there that we have to mitigate. What we used to concentrate on was mitigating any kind of risk. For example, if a protectee was going to go into a large crowd, okay, what would we do? We would make sure that we had certain precautions in place to make sure to mitigate the risk. Is that going to stop somebody from barging through the line and attacking the protectee? No, it's not going to 100% stop them. But what do? We make them think, well, look, if there's metal detectors, if there's this, if there's that, it's sort of, I always make this analogy. You have a lot of people have burglar alarms in their house. Is a burglar alarm going to keep a thief out? No, a burglar alarm is not going to keep a thief out. What a burglar alarm is going to do, whether it's on a car, whether it's in a house, what a burglar alarm is going to do is, even if you have a professional thief, especially a professional thief is going to say, which car do I want to take or which house do I want to break into? The one with the alarm that I have to do more work to break into, I can still break into that house. I can still take that car, but why do I want to do that much work when there's another car right next to it with no alarm system? Because I have less work that I have to do. And this is the same kind of mentality that you need to take towards safety here in Mexico. It's about mitigating risk. It's about going to places and not being in the wrong place at the wrong time. One of the places that I've talked about recently is the Laredo, Texas area. One of the things that concerns me about Laredo is a lot of people take cross at the Laredo, Texas route. The reason why is it's closest, especially if you're going to central Mexico. You can reach 57 by taking the Laredo route. It's kind of like the shortest route to get down there. And so many people take this route through Laredo. But there's been a lot of problems within the last 2 or 3 years. Laredo has had some issues. Right now, there's 2 rival cartels that are fighting for territory in that area, in the Tamaulipas area. And there was even an effort last year by the Nuevo León governor to actually secure the route between Columbia Bridge and Monterrey. Actually, there's a small portion that belongs to Monterrey between Laredo and the Columbia Bridge. There's a small portion of land that actually belongs to the state of Nuevo León. So the governor of Nuevo León actually said, hey, I'll secure the route. He's even met with Elon Musk. They're trying to start some Tesla factories here in Mexico. One of them he's been trying to get in Monterrey. And one of the promises is that he's made to Elon Musk is that I promise you that I'll secure the route between Monterrey and the Columbia Bridge, which is a commercial bridge. I even did a video, and I had to pull that video because probably after, I would say about a month after I did that video, talking about the efforts to secure the place. And also the governor of Nuevo León actually met with the governor of Guanajuato. And the governor of Guanajuato, not Guanajuato, I'm talking the governor of Texas. I apologize. But the governor of Texas, and he promised to secure the route and also promised to stop the flow of illegal aliens or illegal immigrants that were coming north. And he even dedicated special units. About a month later, one of those special units was ambushed and murdered by the cartel. And so Ever since then, there's been a lot of violence in that area. Last year, there was an attack on the American consulate in Nuevo Laredo because one of the leaders of the cartel in that area got arrested at the time. So there's a lot going on there. Now, and there's been a lot in the news lately that they actually just sent 600 military, I believe around 600 soldiers, additional soldiers to what they've already sent down there to try to secure the area. And the efforts have not been met with success, neither by the state of Nuevo León or the federal government. So, do I tell you don't take this route? I'm not telling you. You have to make those decisions. But the problem that we have is, and I see this on Facebook all the time, is when I put out one of these videos, somebody always has to chime in that I just went through there, no problems, nothing happened to me, so everything's fine. Just because nothing happens to one person doesn't mean it's not going to happen to you. And just because one person made it through, as a matter of fact, when I did my video about the attack on the American consulate in Nuevo Laredo, someone made a comment that they had gone through that same day and that it was fine, but all they saw was a bunch of burning cars. And luckily, they crossed at a time when the cartel violence had calmed down. Otherwise, they would have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. So these are the things that we need to look at. One of the things that I always tell people is to keep abreast with the news. We read the news all the time. I don't cross in Laredo. As a matter of fact, I cross in an area that arguably is probably more, they say is more dangerous, but I know the area. And so I take that route because I know the area. Not only do I know the area, but I keep up to date with the news in that area. And right now, I would probably say it's, if you know your route and you know which bridge to cross. I took Gringos R Us cross that bridge actually not too long ago, and I crossed there. But that's because I go to McAllen, and Laredo's not as convenient for me. Now, does that mean that this place is more dangerous or less dangerous than Laredo? Not necessarily. What I tell people when you cross the border, no matter where it is, there's no place that's going to be, there's no place that's going to be 100%. You just need to be very, very cautious. And so basically, one of the things that I tell people is make sure that you check the news. Actually, it's not too hard. If you go to the local newspapers in that area and then you just go to your browser, there's a little thing that'll translate the articles. If you know how to use your Google has it in their Google browser. It's in Safari. It's usually in the address bar, and there's a little tab that says translate, and you're able to translate a lot of those news articles. We subscribe to several Facebook groups. I don't know if there's one for Nuevo Laredo, but there's one called Código Rojo that is for Reynosa. And so we always look at those Facebook groups before we travel. And I can tell you for a fact that I have not traveled several times because of the elevated violence in that area. So one of the things that I advise everybody is I'm going to give you some simple tips. Even if you go to cross in Laredo, that's your decision to make. Okay. I know several people that say we've been doing it for years. We've never had any issues. You got to remember, I've even said it in my video, that millions and millions of people cross that bridge every year. There's a lot of Mexican nationals that travel that route all the time. There's a lot of foreign nationals that travel that route all the time, and they get through safe. So I'm not here to argue that the places do not travel that area because it's too dangerous. But what I do is stress that you need to make sure that you take certain precautions. And I'm going to concentrate on Laredo because of the ongoing violence in Laredo right now. Like I said, first of all, try to check the news. Check Facebook to see if anybody's gone there through their recently. But don't take words for it. Just because someone went through yesterday doesn't mean something not going to happen today. But that gives you an idea. Everything was calm. Another thing that I advise in Laredo right now is not to take the Columbia route. There's been a lot of problems on the Columbia Bridge route. I know it's a lot easier to get through, and it was probably a little bit safer than going through town. But at this time, Nuevo Leon's having a lot of issues fighting with the cartels right now. So that route probably isn't your best bet to go. But if you do go, only go during the day. Go during the day when there's a lot of commercial traffic, especially when there's commercial traffic. You want to go and you don't want to end up. The problem with the Columbia crossing is that the actual road that gets you to the toll road is kind of desolated. And if you can stick with traffic, that's one of the things that'll help. The other thing is that the actual, if you cross in Laredo, the local police usually offer escorts. If you cross at the bridge in Laredo, they'll offer you an escort through town to get you to the toll road. And I would advise that you take those escorts. Don't try to go through town by yourself. The police, the local police, they'll know if there's any kind of violence going on, if there's any kind of problems going on. Well, they're not going to take you across town. So that's one of the biggest things that I advise you to do if you do want to go through Laredo. And like I said, if you want to go through Columbia, the Columbia crossing, make sure you go through it at a time. And actually, don't go through any of these crossings, none of them at night. No matter what anybody tells you, just don't go at night. Always travel during the day. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of travel tips, and then we're going to get to actually questions that you might have. I see one already. And I'm going to get to the questions, but I'm going to give you a couple of tips. The first one is never travel at night. I've always said this. Oh, never travel at night. Even when you're traveling through the interior of Mexico, whether you're traveling through an area that's considered dangerous or not dangerous, never travel at night. Second, know the area that you're traveling through. What I mean by know the area is know how safe it is. I'll use San Miguel de Allende, for example. Guanajuato is experiencing a lot of problems with the cartels right now. The state of Guanajuato, that is where San Miguel de Allende sits. Gringos R Us can probably tell you that they feel very safe in San Miguel de Allende. There's a lot of foreigners in San Miguel de Allende, but you have to be careful, because if you go to the wrong areas surrounding San Miguel de Allende, you could end up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Right now, there's a lot of violence going on in a place called Confort. There was violence that broke out in, it usually does on and off in Celaya. Those are areas you don't want to go to. And Celaya is only very close to San Miguel Allende. So you just don't want to end up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Third, or the next tip I'm going to give you is never assume because you have an American passport or Canadian passport or a foreigner's passport that if you get stopped by the cartel, they're going to just let you go, or that when they're not after Americans or they're not after Canadians. They're only going to rob Mexican nationals. Well, I can tell you cases of Americans and Canadians and from all different types of countries that have been robbed before. So you need to understand that, it doesn't matter that you're from a foreign country. The cartels don't discriminate. If you're in the middle of something, if you end up in the middle of something, neither do the police. Because if the police are fighting with the cartels, and I've said this before, the police or the cartels whoever's in the middle, it's too bad. You're in the middle. And they're not, you need to understand that the police, when they're trying to intervene with cartel activity, their main purpose, yes, they're there to try to curtail the activity. They're not there to protect you. Here in the United States, we have this idea that the police are here to protect us because that's what we're used to. But over here in Mexico, the police are here to neutralize the problem. The military's here to neutralize the problem. Whoever gets in the middle of the problem, it's too bad. You're just a casualty. You're just basically somebody that's a price that they had to pay to neutralize the problem. So you just need to stay out of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, what I just said right now might scare you because I'm sitting here saying the police don't discriminate, the military doesn't discriminate. No, that's not what I'm trying to do is scare you. What I'm trying to tell you is that if you take the right routes, if you know where you're going, you don't end up in the wrong place, you don't go down the wrong routes, then you should be fine. And you shouldn't have to worry about being in the middle of a police skirmish or a military skirmish. But the point I'm trying to make is you don't want to build a false sense of security. And that's what happens. And I see this countless times on Facebook groups of people saying, it's fine, it's safe. I have more of a chance of getting in a violent confrontation in the United States. Well, you know what? Mass shootings in the United States are random. And the people that get stuck in the middle of mass shootings in the United States were in the wrong place at the wrong time. They might have been, and they were random. Just like sometimes violence here in Mexico is random. But the good thing that I can tell you is that violence is usually localized to certain areas that you just need to know not to go to. And one day it may be safe, and the next day it may not be so safe. So that's why you need to keep track of the news. The other thing that I need to tell you is travel the toll roads. We have what they call the libre, it's the free road. Sometimes Google Maps will attempt to route you through the free route, the free highway. Always take toll roads. The toll roads are usually 99% safe because the government has a vested interest. Actually, when you go on a toll road, you actually get a special insurance. Probably people don't know this, but you're kind of insured when you're on that road by the government. And the government's going to take a lot more care in securing those roads than they are going to take in securing the free roads. And usually most bad activity happens on the free roads. So never this is my next piece of advice, which happened to my friend. Never let Google Maps reroute you, even if you're stuck in traffic and you know that I need to stay on the toll roads, but Google Maps says it is going to be 3-hour wait because there's an accident down the road, but you can go down this road and you'll get there faster. Don't let Google Maps do that. Stay on the road, stay on the toll road, and weather it out and get through the accident. I can tell you, I don't know how many times traveling from San Miguel de Allende to Monterrey that we got stuck in traffic for 2 to 3 to 4 hours because the actual toll road, there's a lot of truck traffic there, and there's been accidents on that road which hold the traffic up for 3 or 4 hours. So, and I was offered alternate routes by Google Maps, and I won't take those routes. So always travel during the day, know your routes, make sure, usually most highways will have a -D. So you'll, like for example, the highway between Monterrey and Laredo is 87, I think, or is it 85? But you'll see a -D, which will mean that's the toll road. So when you look on Google Maps, that's kind of a tip. You want to look for the -D. Now you'll find sometimes you'll end up on the regular highway, but actually going from the Columbia Bridge, you have to take Highway 2, which is a free road to get to the actual expressway. But you want to minimize any kind of free road that you have to take. That stretch of Highway 2 is very short to get to the toll road, but you always want to take a toll road. So with that being said, and also be alert. Just be alert. Stay with traffic and be alert. The more traffic that's around, the more likely that nothing's going to happen. Usually, most number one, robberies. When there's a lot of traffic, well, what kind of robber is going to want to rob you, or what kind of bad group is going to want to rob you if there's a lot of traffic, a lot of witnesses. So you always want to do that. Also, when you're traveling throughout Mexico, another tip that I always give people is always what we do is we never get underneath a half a tank of gas. And we always stop in populated areas where everybody else is stopping. I'll give an example. Between Monterrey and San Miguel de Allende, there's a lot of desolated areas. And there's a lot of gas stations in between, but there's some gas stations that are out in the middle of nowhere. And you don't want to get stuck there out in the middle of nowhere at a gas station where there's not a lot of people, where you're more prone to getting stopped or anything can happen to you. But if you stay at the major gas stations that usually have restaurants and all of that stuff, you should be fine. And we always make a point of stopping there. Now, if you have a couple of days that you need to travel, a lot of people travel all the way down to Quintana Roo. You need to make sure that you plan your stops and so that you don't have to travel at night. So let's get to our questions here. Jim Solomon says here that I'm taking a cruise on the west coast of Mexico in a couple of weeks, and one of the stops is Mazatlan. Am I at increased risk getting off the ship given the recent arrest of the Sinaloa cartel leader? That one's a hard one. I haven't heard of any. There has been, and I think you're talking about Chapo Guzman's son that got arrested. There was a lot of blowback when he did get arrested. Mazatlan is a tourist area. It's mostly tourist. I do know that I have, as a matter of fact, I was on the live stream with Bill the Geek not too long ago, and I actually asked him, not on his live stream, but when we were interviewing, before the interview, I asked him how things were going over there with everything. He actually lives in Mazatlan. He said for a little while, they were told not to go outside. Nothing really happened in Mazatlan proper. Most of it was outside of Mazatlan, most of the violence. I haven't seen anything in the news where it's been elevated. Actually, I don't even think, I think the latest news on Chapo Guzman's son that they arrested is that he's not going to be extradited to the United States. I think the United States is still fighting. So right now it's in a flux. So Jim, I don't think I would worry too much about getting off the ship. We've been to Mazatlan several times. It's a nice little town. And like I said, nothing really happened in Mazatlan proper. When Chapo's son got arrested, it was mostly outside of Mazatlan. And the public safety people, and I'm almost sure, here's the other thing too, if you're going to be on a cruise, Jim, I'm almost sure if there's stuff going on in Mazatlan, the cruise people are going to know, and they're not going to let you get off the ship. They're very well versed, and they'll know that there's something going on in town and that's not good. So you'll be fine. And Mazatlan's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place to visit. Yes, it may be in the state of Sinaloa, but it's a beautiful place to visit, and it's a neat place to go. So if you get a chance to get off the ship, I wouldn't worry about it unless the ship won't let you get off. And trust me, they won't let you get off if there's a problem. And Gringos Are Us, we actually canceled our plans to go to the city of Guanajuato for the time being, for that very reason. Exactly. Gringos Are Us. You exactly what I was talking about when I was telling you to check on the news. I'm almost sure you guys didn't go because there was a lot of news of stuff going on. There's an ongoing battle right now with two cartels right now for territory in the Guanajuato area. And that's been going on for a while. It's nothing new, but sometimes the violence increases and sometimes it's okay. Right now, it's not too good. And Gringos Are Us did the smart thing. They kept up to date with the news, and they knew not to go to Guanajuato. And they'll probably be able to go to Guanajuato later. It's just a matter of knowing when to go and when not to go. And let's see here. Edgar said here, and I love these types of answers because I always rely on the community to help out. It's not just me giving advice, it's everybody. It's us helping each other out. That's what the goal of my channel is to help each other out. And it says, as someone with experience in security, what advice can you give if you find yourself in an unfortunate situation of being stopped by one of these groups when crossing the Laredo border? Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading another comment here, but Edgar, good question. I'll tell you what, Edgar, there's been several people that have been stopped by these groups. And you know, if they try to pull you over, trust me, they're going to box you in and pull you over. You know, like I said, one of the things, and I hate to say this because I just said it in the beginning, don't assume because you're a foreigner. Most of the time, if they want to rob you, they're gonna actually rob you. Don't resist, because the more you resist, the more problems you're going to have. And like I said, if you stick with the crowds, okay, if you stick with the crowds, normally this won't happen. The only thing that I have seen happen in the Laredo route is I do know at one point one of the cartels set up roadblocks on the route to between Colombia and Monterrey on that route, and I know a lot of people just turned back. And because they saw the roadblocks ahead, and they decided they turned back because, and these people were wearing military gear, and they actually had their cartel symbols. So a lot of people were smart enough to know that it wasn't the military. And you're going to know if it's not the military because the military is very obvious here, or the National Guard. And the National Guard is basically the federal police, but it's a combination of the federal police. Well, the federal police is no longer the federal police. They merged with the military, and now it's called the National Guard. They have distinct uniforms and distinct vehicles. You'll see them. It'll say Guardia Nacional. And I know that Edgar is asking, do I comply or do you try to evade and turn back? That's a tough question, Edgar, because here's the thing. If you don't know where you're going and you say, do I try to evade? And you go and you try to evade, and you don't know where you're going and you don't know what you might end up in worse territory than if you stop. Now, if you comply, it's one of those things of hoping for the best. Like I said, the goal is not to even get into that situation to begin with. That is the goal. The goal is not to cross an area. If there's been lots of robberies reported in that area, then you don't go in that area. That's the best advice that I can give you. To be honest with you, with Laredo, when most people ask me about Laredo, whether it's peaceful or it's not peaceful, I usually tell them to go through Eagle Pass. Eagle Pass is about 2 or 3 hours down the road. But the problem is a lot of people do not like having to spend an extra 2 or 3 hours traveling, or they don't have it planned into their itinerary. And so if I go 3 more hours down the road, then I'm going to end up on the road at night. Then what do? Well, then I'm going to risk going through Laredo. And that's the risk that you take. And I will tell you right now, trying to evade, most of these groups, when they stop you, they're gonna box you in, and really, it's very hard to evade unless you're an expert in some type of evasive driving or that type of thing. So what I would do, and what you would do are two totally different things. I think you need to just assess the situation. And if you are in a position to turn around and evade and go back to the border, let's say you're 2 miles from the port of entry, and you know that you can turn around and run back to the port of entry to safety, then that might be an option for you. But, if you're already 3 hours into your trip, then you need to assess the situation. And a lot of times it's about being vigilant. You start seeing suspicious vehicles, this or that. Many times my wife and I do it all the time. We'll see a suspicious vehicle. Even though nothing happens to us, keep an eye on that vehicle. That vehicle's been following us for a certain amount of time. You know what? I'm going to stop at the OXXO real quick where there's a lot of people because I see this vehicle behind me. Let's see if they follow me. There's even been times where we've even stopped at the toll booth, and I've actually sat in the parking lot of the toll booth to see if that vehicle keeps going straight or if they keep following us. Those are the kinds of things that you do so that you don't get in the situation where these groups actually stop you or where these groups actually box you in. You don't want to be put on a position where they will. And it may even be that you drive on a certain side of the road so they can't box you in, depending on how the traffic is. So those are the things that you just need to, that's part of being aware and part of being conscious of your surroundings. And let me see here. Gringos are us. We always plan our travel days to allow for 2 or 3 extra hours of daylight to accommodate for the unknown. And that's a good planning. That's good planning. Always make sure you know. And here's another thing, something very simple. A lot of us don't really realize that in the wintertime, well, we realize it, but we don't think about it. But in the wintertime, it gets dark around 5 o'clock. It gets dark around 6 o'clock. Some places it gets dark at 6. Some places it gets dark at 5. Don't assume because you're in McAllen, Texas, and it gets dark at 6 or 7 that it's going to get dark on the 3 hours into your trip. Let's say you go to 6 or 7 in Mexico, and the area you're going to, don't assume that it gets dark at 6 or 7. Look, there's several apps on the App Store and your telephone that you can pull up the daylight or the sunrise and the sunset, and make sure. Pull up the place you're traveling to and see when the sun sets, because it might be 5 o'clock. Also take into consideration time changes. Mexico is getting into actually, I think this is the last time that they're doing a daylight savings time. So there's going to be a point in time where Mexico is going to be an hour behind, and then there's going to, or depending, because it's going to be, if it goes forward in the United States, it's going to be 2 hours behind. And if it goes backwards, so basically there's going to be a time difference of 1 hour, not 2 hours, 1 hour. There's going to be a time when Mexico's behind and then a time when Mexico's at the same time. Right now they're at the same time. So, take all those things into consideration. Melanie, do you have any advice for travel to Guadalajara or Mexico City? My advice, actually, if I can ask you, Melanie, where are you actually traveling from? But I will give this basic advice. I don't drive. I fly to different cities. Melanie just said, I don't drive. I fly to different cities. If you fly, that's one of your best bets. Right now, Melanie, if you want to fly into Mexico City or Guadalajara, the airports are major airports. They're very safe airports. Make sure that you take actually, when you get off on the airport, most in Mexico, they have official taxi services. And actually inside, before you go outside, you can actually pay for your taxi fare inside in a booth. There's usually the official taxi service. You pay at the booth, you get a ticket, and then you go back outside. Don't let anybody come up to you and say, you need a taxi, you need a taxi. Don't take any of those taxis. I do know that Uber, now I know a lot of us like to use Uber. Uber has had some issues here in Mexico. I know that the latest one is in Cancun. At one time, they were banned from even operating in Cancun. They just lifted that ban, and now the Taxi Drivers Association is up in arms, and they're attacking Uber drivers and tourists, and they've even blocked. So Uber's not a good idea right now. I do know in certain cities too, Uber's very discreet, and they even tell you sit up front, those types of things. Your best bet is to take an official taxi. And when you're coming out of the airport, make sure that you go and you prepay your taxi at the booth. And you can tip the taxi driver later if you want to give him something extra, but make sure you stop at that booth and pay for your taxi ride. Don't go outside and say, hey, I got a taxi for you. Someone might say, come over here, I got a taxi for you. And it may even be a marked taxi, which appears to be a marked taxi. I haven't seen this too much. I've seen this in a lot of other countries. The taxi drivers a lot of times have to pay commission to the airport or to the people that give them the ride. So sometimes what they try to do, and what the taxi drivers try to do, is they try to pick up rides, okay, without having to report to the airport so that they can make the extra money. So that's the reason why I say to go to the booth and pay. And that way they dispatch a taxi. They know what number of taxi you got in. That taxi actually has a dispatch and says where they're going, where they're taking you. As a matter of fact, the person that puts you in the taxi is going to tell the taxi driver where to take you. So that's going to be more safe option when you get to Guadalajara or Mexico City. And that's one of the things. Also, while you're there, Melanie, I'm going to put your comment back up. While you're there, make sure that you just know Mexico City has a lot of neighborhoods. It's a big city. It's bigger than New York City. So you want to make sure you just stay in the right places, in the right neighborhoods. And you know what? Wherever you're staying, ask. Or if you're staying at an Airbnb, ask the people at the Airbnb. There's a messaging system on the Airbnb, and you'll know where to go and where not to go. And usually, if you're staying at a hotel, let the bellhop get you a taxi. They already know the taxi driver who's legit and who isn't. And let me see. LJ, hit that like button. Yep, that's right. Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And actually, like I said, don't forget to subscribe if you want to get on a free consultation. Barbara Poole. Uruapan. I'm traveling to Uruapan this April. Is this wise? You know what? To be honest with you, Barbara, I'm not too familiar with Uruapan. I haven't seen it on the radar as far as having problems that I've seen in the news or anything else like that. But if you're going to travel there, if you're flying in, I would say to use the same precautions that I gave Melanie. And also, if you're driving, one of the things you need to do is make sure you stay on that toll road. Don't drive at night, and always stay with traffic. Stay as much as you can with traffic. As a matter of fact, even if traffic is moving slow, sometimes I get tempted. Let me just speed up a little bit so I can get ahead of traffic. Not ahead of traffic, but so I can get to my destination quicker. But sometimes it's wiser to just stay in traffic, and even though you're going to get there an hour later. And LJ, why are these people stealing iPhones when they are permanently locked if stolen? Actually, you know what, LJ? I do know that there has been a lot of iPhone thefts. Uh, but I'll tell you what those iPhone thefts. I'll tell you what's happening with those iPhone thefts, and I've actually read a couple of things about it. What these people will actually do is they'll steal an iPhone. For example, excuse me, you left your iPhone at a restaurant, or they pickpocket you and they take your iPhone. What they will do is they'll try to resell it on the market, not telling the person, not telling the person that it's been unlocked, that it's been permanently locked, or that the IMEI has been flagged. So what will happen is, oh, I want an iPhone and I'm going to get on Mercado Libre and I'm going to buy one. And then you buy it, just like you meet with the guy, he gives you the phone, you're happy, you have an iPhone, and then you turn it on and it turns out to be locked. You try to get a hold of the guy's gone and he disappeared and he went away with your $200-$300 that he sold the iPhone for. There are ways of wiping the iPhone, even though it's locked. So when he shows you the iPhone and he turns it on and it says hello, and I had this issue with my uncle. I gave him my watch, but I didn't take it off my iPhone account. I mean, my iCloud account. And he couldn't, the watch, I reset it and everything else. But of course, when he was setting it up, it says, sorry, this watch is on someone else's account. So I had to take it off. So what happens is these people will bring you the iPhone all wiped, because there's programs that'll wipe the iPhone. And it'll even say hello and pull up and you think, hey, great, I got an iPhone. And then when you go to set it up and you go to activate it, and I don't know if anybody has an iPhone, if they remember, when you turn it on and you put the SIM card in, it'll say activating the phone. That's when, if someone locks the phone, it'll say, sorry, we can't, this phone's locked or stolen. But usually the guy that sold it to you, he's already gone. So by the time you figure out it's a stolen phone, it's too late. And that's why people are stealing iPhones. They love to steal iPhones. And that's why, because there's a big market for it here. And people will buy them, not realizing that they're stolen. And Gringos R Us with a tip. Okay. Like I said, I was reading something else here. And of course, when we are having to spend the night while traveling, we use the Automoteles so that we have a garage. We always check the reviews and try to stay on the major thoroughfares. Actually, I know that Gringos R Us was very successful at doing this. The only thing I do advise, and they did their homework, actually, the one that they stayed here in Monterrey was a very luxurious one. You wouldn't even think it was an auto motel with all the amenities. They actually did a video, and I actually suggest you go over to the Gringos R Us channel. Shout out to them and go over to their channel, because they actually they're now documenting their adventures in Mexico, but they actually documented their adventures. Everything from getting there, actually from packing, from preparing. They even did a spreadsheet. They did videos on how they sold all their stuff. They did videos on how they prepared all the paperwork. They registered their vehicle in South Dakota. I believe they've got driver's licenses in South Dakota. They did all sorts of things. And they even go through the residency card process, how it went at the consulate, what they had to do at the consulate. So it's pretty thorough, and they even document their use of automotels. So I suggest that you go to their channel and check that out and see what they did to ensure that they went to a correct place, that they went to a good place there. LJ, let's see here. LJ, what a great excuse for when my wife finds my receipts and sees that the bill's for an automotele. Well, actually, LJ, I don't know what to tell you on that one, other than hopefully your wife's with you. So, I think that I am Anybody else have any more questions? I'll open it up real quick. We're almost on an hour here. And I know you couldn't resist. And she said, or LJ said, I couldn't resist. Not he, not she. He said I couldn't resist. I figured that much. But I figured I'd bring the comment up anyway. So anybody else have any other questions? Now, what I usually do is I open it up for a couple minutes or 1 or 2 questions about moving to Mexico. I don't always keep it on safety, only just safety. Yeah, that's right. Actually, LJ, Gringos R Us has a point. Receipts? We never got a receipt. Actually, you normally pay in cash on the auto motels. So, and then LJ, and he said the importance of dressing down while out and about. Yes, there is an importance in dressing down or not dressing too fancy or not wearing too fancy clothes. My rule of thumb is I just dress like I normally dress. But I don't wear a Rolex watch. I mean, I have one, but I don't wear it out. Jewelry. My wife nor I wear any kind of expensive jewelry. I don't wear expensive jewelry just by nature, but, I have an Apple Watch, so I don't wear an expensive watch. But those are little things that you want to do to make sure that you stay safe. One of the things that I didn't touch on, like, for example, in San Miguel, yes, there's pickpockets. You're going to come across that in any kind of tourist area, in Cancun. So you just want to make sure that you just take the precautions that you would take from getting mugged. Edgar, why is the United States not listed in the United States and the U.S. Department of State travel advisories? Actually, Edgar, I'll tell you what, I'll give you an actual educated answer to that. I actually was assigned to the State Department for a little while. All those travel advisories are for overseas. Unfortunately, they don't actually keep track of the United States. They only keep track of the country that they're in. They have their diplomatic missions in. But that's the actual official answer. LJ, okay. So when she sees my location, I'll find my iPhone. So you're still at it, LJ. You're still at it. Actually, turn off location services. Cindy K, leave the bling at home. That's exactly correct. For females, believe it or not, your purse can be an indicator of, I don't know, if you like Louis Vuitton, if you like Gucci, whatever those types of things, even the fake ones, because they look real sometimes. And some of them are very, very good fakes. So you want to make sure that you don't, you're just careful that when you're going out anywhere, just wear something simple. Buy a travel purse that's really nice and that fits your uses. Something that's utilitarian, not necessarily that's nice looking. And LJ, I was thinking of having a decoy cheap phone and a dummy wallet. Huh? That's not too bad of an idea. And, or what I've done in the past is I have my wallet with everything that I could lose. What I used to do in Brazil, because I used to go to Rio a lot, and Rio de Janeiro has a lot of crime with property crime with, pickpockets and that type of thing. When I would leave the hotel, I would only take one credit card with me. I had a wallet with the things that I was willing to lose. And if someone pickpocketed me and I lost it, I lost it. My real cash would be in another pocket, or my real cash would be in tucked away. I used to wear, there's a certain branded jeans that have the little pockets where I would put my cash in the little pocket, and then I wouldn't put my cash in the wallet, and then I would have my debit card or one credit card in my wallet because I was going to go out and eat, or I wouldn't even put my credit card in my wallet. I'd put it in another location on my body if I was wearing a jacket or something else like that. So it's not a bad idea to have, like you said, a decoy wallet. I didn't necessarily have a decoy wallet. I just used my normal wallet, but I just emptied it of the stuff that I wasn't willing to lose. Because I actually they issued me a diplomatic ID. I used to have a diplomatic ID. I'd leave that locked away in my hotel room because I knew if I lost that, then I'd be in trouble. So those are things that actually, LJ, you're not too far off. Having a dummy phone or a cheap phone. You can buy cheap Android phones here at the OXXO and use that. Get a SIM card and use that for your local data and everything else. So if they steal that, it's not your iPhone or your Galaxy S22. So, and then can I safely use the free road from Laredo to Monterrey crossing at Laredo? I'm not sure what you're talking about, the free road. Are you talking about Highway 2? There's a stretch of Highway 2 to get, when you cross through Laredo, there's a stretch of free road to get to the toll road. Is that what I don't know, Phil, is that what you're talking about? Because I'm not too familiar with all the libres there in Laredo, but I do know that there's a stretch of Highway 2, especially from the Columbia. If you take the Columbia crossing, there's a stretch that you pass through that's a free road. Usually that stretch is full of cops, and you have to worry a little bit more on that stretch of do not speed for any reasons, because they will stop you. Most of the time, what you have to worry more on that stretch on Highway 2 is the cops stopping you for speeding and trying to work it out another way than giving you a speeding ticket, if you know what I mean. A lot of times they're looking for you to give them a little bribe. So I'm not sure if that's the free road you're talking about, Bill. But if you've got a safe route in Laredo, normally, my understanding is with that police escort off of the Laredo Bridge, is that they will take you all the way out to the toll road. So you don't have to actually worry about that. And if you do take to Columbia, you will be on a small stretch of Highway 2 that basically will, that short stretch. And Melanie, I carry a cheap purse and I only wear my watch when I wear long sleeves. Yep, that's a good idea. You just don't want to make yourself a target. That's the biggest thing. And LJ, love your real wallet idea. Well, that's what we always used to do. And actually, I'll give you a really funny story about what happened to us in Rio. We had a group of individuals from the FBI, a crack undercover unit, that came in to help out in Brazil, and they actually came in, and these individuals had been in the worst places in several countries, and we told him, do not, for whatever reason, do not go out onto the beach. Also, because we were in Copacabana Beach, we also said, do not go behind hotels, because and only during the day. At night, do not go out on the beach. And he decided to go for a walk on the beach. And he decided that he was going to go because he was this crack undercover that's been in some of the worst places in the world. And guess what happened? He was out on the beach, and they mugged him and took all of his stuff. So that's a true story. And this was a law enforcement official that's been in some of the seediest places that you can think of. So just make sure that don't ever take for granted, take your precautions. And if someone tells you don't go out to the beach at night, and that's actually a piece of advice that they'll tell you at the hotel when you're in Rio. So that's another thing. Okay, Phil. Free road through Sabinas, and he doesn't ever cross at Columbia. Actually, Phil, I'm not too familiar with. You know what? To be honest with you, I am to the point where I'll never cross through Laredo, so I'm not really positive on that free road through Sabinas. Now, have you ever used the police escorts that they give? Uh, and Because they usually those police escorts are probably your best deal. Um, and I don't know if like when you had said the free road through Sabinas, usually going through town. Here's a good, and if you don't get the police escorts, here's a good tip. If you're going to go through town, always remember that there's 3 times of the day in Mexico that the traffic is very, very, very. The third part of the day you don't want to go through. There in the morning, everybody's taking their kids to school. Okay, so usually between around 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock, there's a lot of traffic. So you're not going to see. Well, it's never a guarantee. But if you're going to go through, you always try to go through in those hours. The other time is usually between 12 or 1 o'clock, depending. Excuse me, people take lunch around that time and they go out to eat. So usually between 12, 1, 2 o'clock, actually, because some people don't start their lunch break till 1 o'clock, usually that's a high traffic time. So you want to take it during that time. Now, it also depends where you go. You might not have enough time to make it to your destination if you cross at noon or 1 o'clock. So your best bet is crossing in the morning. Not too early though. Usually around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. That's probably your best bet. And like I said, I haven't taken that free road through Sabinas. So, you've never, you've never taken the police escorts. I know a lot of people do and a lot of people don't. And sometimes I know those police escorts aren't available. But your best bet, if you really, really want to go through there, like I said, go through at between, most of the news that I monitor, it's not news, it's more common sense. What I do is I monitor the news first to make sure there's nothing going on. Give you a perfect example. When they attacked the consulate the night before, they had just arrested one of the major drug cartel members, and then they deported him to the United States, and the cartel got upset, and they started rioting in the streets. So one of the things you want to do is, before you cross, make sure that none of that stuff is going on. And then the next thing to do is travel around that time. And now I do know you do have to go through a couple of free roads to get to the toll road if you cross at the bridge, because that's going to be the route to get to the toll road. But my advice is to go at those hours, stick with traffic, and just follow those common sense things, and you should be fine. My only concern, like I said, right now, as a matter of fact, I just read today about the 600 military that they are sending down to Nuevo Laredo to control the area. There's a lot of fighting between Reynosa. Reynosa is not involved, but that little area between Reynosa and Nuevo Laredo, there's a lot of fighting going on right now. And some of that may spill over into Nuevo Laredo. Most of it's between the two places. It's not spilling into Nuevo Laredo. It's not spilling into Reynosa. It's kind of in between in the Miguel Alemán area, Diaz Ordaz, that area. But that doesn't mean it's not going to spill over. That's why I say just make sure that you don't, make sure you monitor the news. Find the local newspaper online. And like I said, even if you don't speak Spanish, hit that translate button and you should be able to see all the articles, and it'll tell you what happened the night before. There's been fighting. When they attacked the consulate, I had one friend of mine that was actually staying in Nuevo Laredo, and his hotel. He actually sent me pictures of his hotel that got shot up. He was luckily inside the hotel, but he sent me pictures of all the things that happened there. But that's just like I said, it's make sure that you're not in the wrong place at the wrong time. He probably should have stayed in Laredo, Texas, instead of staying in Laredo. So those are the things that you just need to do. It's a lot about practicing common sense. So I guess I'm going to wrap it up with that. And is Mexico dangerous? Well, like I said, every place is dangerous. There's no place that's safe, 100% safe. And also, I'm going to take one more because this is one of the things that I've had to actually address in one of my videos, I believe. You keep hearing about disappearing people, not just in Mexico. I hear the CCP does this against its own citizens. I hear it is for organ harvesting trade. Do you know anything about this? Okay, Adriana, actually, Jenny, I'll tell you, there is a market for that. There's people that are get kidnapped in different countries. Not necessarily that it's a CCP that's doing this. Well, I don't know if the CCP does it against their own citizens, but there is a big market for that. The investigative agency that I belonged to before the investigative agency before I retired actually used to do a lot of investigations and we did do some investigations on individuals that were being trafficked or actually being trafficked. They were actually promised that they were going to be trafficked to a certain area only to arrive so that they could be utilized for this type of trafficking. Does this stuff happen often? It's not as often as it does happen. But like I said, I wouldn't worry about it. We've done investigations on those types of cases, and I would tell you our caseload in that area in human trafficking was very low. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. I don't know what goes on in Russia. I haven't read anything in the news about that, but I do know it does happen. But a lot of disappearances here. There have been disappearances, and the reason why I said I would touch on it is there have been disappearances of people here. Most people would argue it's because they were involved in something really bad. Other people would argue, and I will tell you, it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of those people were involved in something bad, or it could be a little bit of you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And there's even a case in Zacatecas, I believe, an individual from Florida was going to get engaged with his girlfriend. They were traveling through an area they shouldn't have been traveling through. And they ended up getting kidnapped. They disappeared. And they probably disappeared. I don't think it actually came out the exact reason, but they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, probably got stopped by some cartel members, and they disappeared. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they found their bodies later on. But those are the things that happen here. Sometimes just because the individuals are involved in bad activity, but don't assume it's just because people are involved in bad activity. These individuals that were, like I just told the story about, they were traveling in the middle of the night through an area they shouldn't have been traveling through. So these are the things that I mean when I talk about common sense. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Hope this information was useful, as I always say, and we'll see you soon.